The crystal champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, silencing the chatter of 100 guests in our family's grand ballroom. My mother's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. Perhaps if you showed half the dedication to your family's legacy as you do to your little charity project, you wouldn't be such a disappointment, Michaela. I stood there, champagne soaking into my emerald silk dress, aware of every eye in the room fixed on me. My 30th birthday celebration had just become another battlefield in our ongoing war. "Mother, this isn't the time or place," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the familiar burn of humiliation. The letter hidden in my clutch felt heavier than ever. My name is Michaela, and I was born into one of the most prominent Vietnamese-American families in California. Tonight was supposed to be about celebration, but my mother had other plans. "When is the time, then?" She glided closer, her perfectly coiffed hair and designer gown a stark contrast to the venom in her words. "When you've completely destroyed everything we've built, when you've rejected every suitable match I've arranged." Dylan, my best friend and co-founder of the community center, stepped forward. "Mrs. Lawson, maybe we should—" "Stay out of this," my mother snapped. "You're part of the problem." I caught Sasha's eye across the room. My cousin gave me a subtle nod, reminding me I wasn't alone in this gilded cage. "Mother, I've built something meaningful," I said, straightening my spine. "The community center helps people, real people, not just your social circle." "Speaking of your social circle," she smiled, that dangerous smile I knew too well. "Aston has arrived. He's been asking about you." Right on cue, Aston appeared at my mother's side, looking exactly like the corporate lawyer he was in his tailored suit. The perfect match in my mother's eyes. "Michaela," he said, extending his hand. "Happy birthday! You look stunning." Before I could respond, my mother seized the moment. "Aston's firm is expanding their pro bono program. Isn't that wonderful? You could direct your charitable interests through proper channels." The implication was clear. Abandon my community center, marry Aston, fall in line. "Actually," I said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear, "we just received a major grant for the center. We're expanding our youth programs next month." My mother's face tightened. "How lovely! Though I wonder what your grandmother would think of you throwing away your potential on such common pursuits." The letter burned in my clutch. If she only knew what grandmother really thought, what she'd written about my mother's own betrayal. "Don't bring grandmother into this," I warned. "Why not? She understood the importance of family, of maintaining our position. Unlike you, she knew her duty." Sasha appeared at my side, touching my arm. "Michaela, let's get some air." But I was done backing down. "Duty? Like stealing from your own mother? Is that the kind of duty you mean?" The color drained from my mother's face. For a moment, just a moment, I saw fear in her eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but her voice had lost its edge. "Don't you?" I reached for my clutch, but Sasha's grip tightened on my arm. "Not here," she whispered. "Not like this." I looked around the room. Guests pretended not to stare, but I could see them hanging on every word. This was exactly what my mother wanted, to corner me in public, force me to submit or face humiliation. "You're right," I said to Sasha, then turned to my mother. "This isn't the place, but we will have this conversation." "There's nothing to discuss," my mother said, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "Now why don't you dance with Aston? Show our guests that you can at least pretend to be the daughter I raised." I stepped closer to her, close enough to whisper. "Grandmother left more than just memories behind, Mother. She left truth." I turned away before she could respond, making my way through the crowd with Sasha beside me. Behind us, I could hear my mother's voice, bright and false, directing guests to the dinner buffet. "You're playing with fire," Sasha murmured as we reached the terrace doors. "I know," I said, thinking of the letter that would change everything. "But I'm done letting her burn me." The cool night air hit my face as we stepped outside, carrying the scent of jasmine from the gardens below. Inside, the party continued, But out here, I could breathe. The letter waited, and with it, the power to shatter my mother's carefully constructed world. Soon, I thought. Very soon. 2 weeks earlier, I was sorting through donation boxes at the community center when I found it. A weathered envelope tucked inside an old jewelry box. My grandmother's distinctive handwriting caught my eye immediately. "Hey, Michaela!" Dylan called from across the room. "Where do you want these children's books?" "Just a minute," I answered, my fingers trembling as I opened the envelope. The paper inside was thin, delicate, dated just weeks before my grandmother's death. "My dearest Michaela," the words blurred as I read, each sentence more devastating than the last. The truth about the missing family heirloom. A priceless jade pendant that had disappeared the same week my grandmother died. The truth about my mother's betrayal. And most shocking of all, the truth about my own identity. "Michaela?" Dylan's voice seemed far away. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I folded the letter quickly. "I need to call Sasha." 20 minutes later, Sasha burst through the center's doors, her legal briefcase still in hand. "Show me," she demanded without preamble. We huddled in my office while Dylan kept watch outside. I handed her the letter with shaking hands. "Oh my God," Sasha whispered as she read. "This explains everything. The way Aunt Bridget treated you, the way she pushed you away from the family business." "Did you know," I asked, "about any of this?" Sasha shook her head. "I suspected something was off, especially after grandmother died. But this—" She looked up at me. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." I sank into my chair. "The pendant alone is worth millions, but it's more than that. My mother stole it, then blamed my father when it went missing. That's why he left." "And why she's been controlling you ever since," Sasha added, "using guilt about your father's departure to keep you in line." A knock at the door made us both jump. Dylan poked his head in. "Sorry to interrupt, but you might want to see this." He held up his phone, showing an Instagram post from my mother. A photo of her with Aston at some charity gala, captioned, "Looking forward to some exciting family announcements soon. Jack's family legacy, Jirk tradition." "She's going to try to force this marriage announcement at your birthday party," Sasha said. "Classic Aunt Bridget move." "Not if I can help it." I pulled out my own phone. "I need to talk to my father." "Michaela, wait." Sasha grabbed my wrist. "Think this through. Once you start this, there's no going back. The family will implode." "It already has," I said. "We just haven't admitted it yet." That evening, I met my father at a quiet coffee shop downtown. 15 years had turned his hair gray, but his eyes were the same. Kind, tired, carrying the weight of unspoken truths. "The pendant," he said after I showed him the letter. "I always wondered if Bridget—" He trailed off, shaking his head. "Why didn't you fight back?" I asked. "Why let her blame you?" "Because of you." He reached across the table, taking my hand. "She threatened to cut me off completely, to make sure I never saw you again. I thought staying away but knowing you were taken care of was better than fighting and risking everything." "But she lied about everything," I said, my voice breaking. "About the pendant, about you, about who I really am." "Your grandmother's first marriage," he nodded. "The one her parents forced her into before she met your grandfather. I had my suspicions, but Bridget buried those records years ago." A text from Sasha lit up my phone. "Found more proof. Old bank statements. Money transfers the week grandmother died. Call me." "Dad," I said, squeezing his hand, "I'm going to fix this. All of it." "Be careful," he warned. "Your mother, she won't go down without a fight." "Neither will I." I stood up, gathering my things. Not anymore. Back home, I spread everything out on my bed. The letter, the bank statements Sasha had found, old photos of my grandmother wearing the pendant. My phone buzzed with another text, this time from Aston. "Your mother mentioned the party. We should talk." I ignored it, focusing instead on a photo I'd never noticed before. My grandmother at my age, standing proud in traditional dress, the jade pendant gleaming at her throat. Behind her, barely visible, stood a man I'd never seen before. Her first husband, My true grandfather. Another text from Sasha. There's more. Found something in grandmother's old safety deposit box. Meeting tomorrow? I touched the photo gently, tracing the outline of the pendant that should have been mine. My mother thought she could bury the truth forever, but she forgot one thing. Secrets have a way of finding the light. The party was in 2 weeks. 2 weeks to decide how to use what I knew. 2 weeks to choose between revenge and justice. My grandmother's words from the letter echoed in my mind. The truth will set you free, but first, it will shatter everything you thought you knew. I was ready for the shattering. Stand up straight, Michaela. A proper lady never slouches. The memory of my mother's voice echoed as I stared at my childhood bedroom, preserved like a museum exhibit. Trophies from competitions I never wanted to enter. Photos from galas where I'd played the perfect daughter. Everything exactly as I'd left it 5 years ago when I finally moved out. Your mother keeps it ready, our housekeeper Maria whispered, hovering in the doorway. Just in case you come to your senses, she says. I ran my finger along the dresser, collecting dust despite Maria's best efforts. Is she home? In her study. She's been making calls all morning about your birthday party. I found my mother exactly where I expected, surrounded by social media posts and guest lists. She barely looked up when I entered. Finally decided to help with the preparations? She asked, tapping away at her iPad. I remember when this was Dad's study, I said, ignoring her question. Before you forced him out. That got her attention. She set down the iPad, fixing me with her practiced stare. We've discussed this. Your father chose to leave. Did he? Or did you make that choice for him, like you've tried to make every choice in my life? I've only ever wanted what's best for you. She stood, smoothing her silk blouse. Speaking of which, Aston called. He's very concerned about your behavior at the community center. You're having me watched? Of course not. But people talk, especially when they see someone of our standing associating with... She waved her hand dismissively. Certain elements. Those certain elements are people who need help, I snapped. Real help, not your tax-deductible charity galas. Is that what you were doing in your father's coffee shop yesterday? Helping people? My blood ran cold. So she did have me watched. He's still my father. He's a man who abandoned his family. She moved closer, her perfume overwhelming. Everything I've done to protect you from ending up like him. Alone, irrelevant, forgotten. Like grandmother's first husband? I watched her face carefully. Is that who you mean? She froze just for a second before laughing. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Grandmother seemed to think differently. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed. Dylan's name flashed on the screen. Emergency at the center, I lied, backing toward the door. We'll finish this later. Michaela. Her voice stopped me. Whatever game you're playing, remember, I taught you everything you know about power. Not everything, I muttered as I left. I met Dylan at our favorite coffee shop, not my father's this time. He had a stack of papers waiting. You're not going to believe what I found, he said, sliding them across the table. Your grandmother's foundation records. Look at the dates. I scanned the documents, my heart pounding. These transfers, they're from the same week she died. Money moved from the foundation to private accounts. Dylan confirmed. Accounts in your mother's name. She didn't just steal the pendant, I realized. She stole everything. There's more. He pulled out his phone, showing me an old newspaper article. Your grandmother's first marriage? It wasn't just any marriage. He was from one of the oldest families in Vietnam. Their union was supposed to merge two powerful dynasties. Until she ran away with my grandfather, I finished, remembering the letter, and had a daughter she gave up for adoption. Dylan met my eyes. Your mother. The pieces clicked into place. My mother's obsession with status, her iron grip on the family legacy, her desperate push for me to marry Aston. She was trying to recreate the dynasty she should have inherited. She's not just protecting her reputation, I said slowly. She's protecting her claim to everything. If people knew she was adopted, The entire empire could collapse. Dylan leaned back. Question is, what are you going to do about it? My phone buzzed again. Sasha. Found the safety deposit box key. Meeting tonight? I'm going to find that pendant, I said. And then I'm going to make her face every lie she's ever told. Michaela. Dylan grabbed my hand. Revenge isn't justice. You taught me that, remember? When we started the center? This isn't about revenge, I insisted. It's about truth. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're becoming exactly what you hate about her. His words hit hard. But before I could respond, another text came through. This time from my father. Your mother came to see me. She knows something's coming. Be careful. I have to do this, I told Dylan. For grandmother, for dad, for everyone she's hurt. Okay, he said finally. But promise me you won't lose yourself in the process. I stared at my reflection in the coffee shop window, seeing my mother's determination in my own eyes. I promise. But as I left to meet Sasha, I wondered if I was lying to him and to myself. The safety deposit box key felt impossibly heavy in my palm as Sasha and I stood in the bank's private viewing room. My hands trembled as I inserted it into the lock. Wait, Sasha said, placing her hand over mine. Are you sure you want to open this? Whatever's inside? Could change everything, I finished. I know. The lock clicked. Inside lay a small wooden box, ornately carved with dragons and phoenixes. My grandmother's jewelry box. It's empty, I said, lifting the lid. Then I noticed the false bottom. No, wait. Hidden underneath was a stack of photographs and a small red envelope. The first photo showed my grandmother, young and radiant, with a man I recognized from the other picture, her first husband. They were standing in front of a magnificent estate in Vietnam. Look at the date, Sasha whispered, pointing to the back of the photo. 1957, 2 months before she fled. The next photo made my breath catch. My mother as a baby, being handed to my grandparents. The adoption. Your mother's real parents, Sasha said, studying the image. They looked so young. A sharp knock at the door made us both jump. Ms. Lawson? The bank manager called. Mr. Delgado's here to see you. Sasha and I exchanged alarmed looks. Aston? She mouthed. Just a minute, I called back, quickly gathering the photos. But as I reached for the red envelope, the door opened. Aston stood there in his perfectly pressed suit, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. Michaela, we need to talk. How did you know I was here? Your mother told me. He stepped inside, closing the door. She's worried about you. We all are. All of you? I laughed bitterly. Or all of her carefully chosen allies? This isn't like you, he said, moving closer. These wild accusations, these conspiracy theories about your mother. They're not theories. I held up the photos. They're facts. Facts my mother has spent decades hiding. Whatever you think you've found, he said, reaching for the photos. There must be a reasonable explanation. I pulled back. Like there's a reasonable explanation for why she's pushing us together? For why she's announcing our engagement at my birthday party without even asking me? His face fell slightly. She told you about that? She didn't have to. I know how she operates. Michaela, he said softly, your mother only wants to protect the family legacy. Our families united could be something extraordinary. Our families united would be built on lies, I shot back, just like everything else in her life. Be careful, he warned. You're playing a dangerous game. Is that a threat? It's advice from someone who cares about you. Sasha stepped between us. I think you should leave. Think about what you're doing, Aston said as he backed away. Some truths are better left buried. After he left, Sasha turned to me. He's going straight to your mother. I know. I opened the red envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a single piece of paper, a receipt for a safety deposit box at another bank, dated the week my grandmother died. The pendant, Sasha breathed. She must have hidden it there. My phone buzzed. Dylan, your mother just showed up at the center. She's demanding to see the donation records. She's looking for the letter, I realized. She knows I found something. We need to move fast, Sasha said. That other bank closes in an hour. We made it with 15 minutes to spare. But as we approached the counter, I saw a familiar figure already there. My mother, holding a key identical to mine. Michaela, she said, turning slowly. What a surprise. Is it? I kept my voice steady. Or did Aston tell you exactly where to find me? A mother knows her daughter. She smiled that dangerous smile again. Especially when that daughter is about to make a terrible mistake. The only mistake was believing your lies all these years. Lies? She laughed. I've given you everything. Position, opportunity, a future with Aston. You gave me a life built on theft and deception, I said. Grandmother trusted you, and you betrayed her. I protected this family, she hissed, stepping closer. Everything I did for us. No, I said. Everything you did for yourself. She gripped my arm, her nails digging in. You have no idea what it takes to maintain our position. The sacrifices required. Like sacrificing Dad or your real parents? The color drained from her face. How dare you? Ms. Lawson? The bank manager interrupted. The box is ready. We both turned. Mother's grip tightened. Walk away, Michaela, she whispered. While you still can. I met her eyes, seeing not the powerful woman who had controlled my life, but someone desperate, afraid of losing everything she'd stolen. No, Mother, I said. This time, you're the one who's going to walk away. The pendant waited in that box, and with it, the power to expose every lie she'd ever told. The countdown to my birthday party had begun. 3 days before my birthday party, I sat in my grandmother's old garden, the jade pendant heavy in my hands. We'd found it exactly where the receipt indicated, wrapped in silk and hidden away like so many other family secrets. I remember when she used to wear this, my father said, settling onto the bench beside me. Your mother couldn't take her eyes off it. Did you ever suspect? I asked. About Mom's adoption? He sighed, running a hand through his gray hair. There were signs. The way your grandmother would look at her sometimes, like she was carrying this enormous guilt. But Bridget was so determined to be perfect, to prove herself worthy. She's going to try to stop me, I said, at the party. So already started. He pulled out his phone, showing me a series of text messages. She's been calling everyone, spinning her version of events, claiming you're unstable, that the stress of running the community center has affected your judgment. My own phone buzzed. Dylan, your mother's here again, with lawyers this time. She's trying to shut down the center, I realized. Cut off my support system. Classic Bridget. My father nodded. Isolate, then attack. The garden gate creaked, and Sasha hurried in, clutching her briefcase. We have a problem, a big one. She pulled out a stack of papers, legal documents with my mother's signature. She's filing for emergency conservatorship, Sasha explained, claiming you're mentally unfit to manage your own affairs. Can she do that? She's trying. She's got Aston's firm behind her, and they're good. They're painting a picture of you as unstable, paranoid, making wild accusations about family secrets. But we have proof, I protested. The pendant, the photos, the adoption records. Which is why we need to move fast, Sasha said, before she can block you legally. My phone buzzed again. Maria. Your mother is planning something for the party. Overheard her talking about security, about keeping you from making a scene. She's going to try to stop me from speaking at all, I said. Then don't speak. My father leaned forward. Show them. What do you mean? Your grandmother loved film, he reminded me. She recorded everything. I sat up straight, remembering. The video messages. She used to make them for special occasions, including one she made the week before she died, my father said quietly. The week the pendant disappeared. Sasha was already typing on her phone. The videos would be in the family archive. I can access them through the Foundation's records. If they still exist, I said. Mom might have destroyed them. Your mother's thorough, my father agreed. But she's not infallible. She makes mistakes when she's afraid. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from her. We need to talk. Dinner tonight. Non-negotiable. She's getting desperate, Sasha observed. That makes her dangerous. But also careless, my father added. Use that. I stood up, clutching the pendant. I need to see those videos, now. We spent the next hours in the Foundation's archive room, scanning through years of recorded memories. Finally, in a dusty box marked personal, we found it. A USB drive labeled, for Michaela. On truth. My hands shook as I plugged it into Sasha's laptop. My grandmother's face filled the screen. Older than I remembered, but still radiating strength. My dearest Michaela, she began, if you're watching this, then you've found the letter, and you know the truth about your mother, about the pendant, about everything I was too weak to say while alive. Tears blurred my vision as she continued, detailing every lie, every manipulation, every theft. But it was her final words that struck deepest. The pendant isn't just jewelry, my dear. It's proof. The inscription inside tells the true story of your mother's birth, of my shame, of the dynasty that should have been. Bridget knows this. It's why she took it. But remember, power built on lies will always crumble. The truth may hurt, but it also heals. The screen went dark. Sasha and my father sat in stunned silence. This changes everything, Sasha finally said. My phone buzzed one more time. My mother. Car will pick you up at 7. Don't disappoint me again. I looked at the pendant, then at the frozen image of my grandmother on the screen. No, Mom, I whispered. This time, you're the one who's going to be disappointed. The party was 3 days away. My mother thought she was setting a trap, but she didn't realize. Sometimes the prey becomes the hunter. I squeezed the pendant, feeling the sharp edges of truth pressing into my palm. Time to end this. Michaela, my father warned. Be careful. Your mother. I know, I cut him off. But grandmother was right. It's time for healing, even if we have to break everything first. The sun was setting outside, casting long shadows through the archive room windows. In 3 days, those shadows would lift, and every hidden truth would finally see the light. The ballroom buzzed with anticipation as my mother took the stage, champagne glass in hand. Everything was exactly as she'd planned. The flowers, the lighting, the strategic placement of influential guests. Everything except what was about to happen. Friends, family, she began, her voice carrying across the room. We're here not just to celebrate Michaela's 30th birthday, but to announce some wonderful news. I caught Sasha's eye across the room. She nodded slightly, laptop ready. As many of you know, my mother continued, our family has always valued tradition, legacy, and proper alliances. Today, I'm overjoyed to announce— Actually, Mother, I interrupted, stepping onto the stage. I have an announcement of my own. Her smile froze. Michaela, dear, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I turned to face the crowd. You all know my grandmother, the remarkable woman who built this family's legacy. What you don't know is what really happened the week she died. Security! My mother called sharply, but Dylan and my father had already blocked the doors. Play it, I said to Sasha. The lights dimmed and my grandmother's face appeared on the massive screen behind us. My mother lunged for me, but I held up the pendant, stopping her cold. Looking for this? I asked quietly. The video began to play, my grandmother's voice filling the silent room. I, Vera Myers, make this confession of my own free will. Turn it off, my mother hissed. Why? Afraid of what people might learn about your real parents? About how you stole not just the pendant, but millions from your own mother's foundation? Gasps rippled through the crowd as the video continued, revealing every detail of my mother's deception. "You ungrateful child," she spat. "After everything I've done for you." "Done for me?" I laughed. "You mean like trying to declare me mentally unfit? Like having me watched? Like driving away my father with false accusations?" "Your father was weak," she sneered. "Just like you're being weak now." "No, Bridget," my father's voice rang out as he approached the stage. "Strength isn't about control, it's about truth. The truth!" She whirled to face the crowd. "You want the truth? Fine. Yes, I was adopted. Yes, I took the pendant. Because it was my right. I was the one who protected this family's status, who built our connections, who made us matter." "By lying?" I held up the pendant. "By stealing? By erasing your own history?" "I improved our history," she shouted. "My real parents? They were nothing, nobody. I made us into somebody." The room fell silent as her words echoed. On the screen, my grandmother's video reached its final revelation. The true meaning of the pendant's inscription, the legacy of my mother's birth family. "Nobody," I said softly. "Your father was the heir to one of the oldest families in Vietnam. The pendant proves it. You weren't nothing, Mother. You were everything, until you threw it away for a lie." "Lies protect us," she said, but her voice had lost its power. "Truth destroys." "No," I countered. "Truth sets us free." Aston stepped forward from the crowd. "Is it all true? The adoption? The theft?" My mother's face hardened. "Don't you dare judge me. Everything I did was to secure our future, your future together." "There is no future together," I said firmly. "I'm not going to continue your cycle of lies." "Then you'll have nothing," she threatened. "I'll make sure of it." Sasha stood up. "Actually, as the Foundation's legal counsel, I've already frozen all the accounts pending investigation. And as for the center?" She smiled. "It's independently funded now, thanks to grandmother's last gift." My mother's composure finally cracked. "You can't do this to me. I'm your mother." "Yes, you are," I said, reaching for her hand. "And I love you. But this has to end." She jerked away, her eyes wild. "You think this is over? You think exposing me changes anything? I still have power, connections." "Built on lies," my father interrupted. "And now everyone knows it." The crowd had begun to murmur, phones appearing to record everything. My mother's carefully curated world was crumbling in real time. "Mother," I said gently, "it's time to tell the truth. All of it. Not for me, not for them, but for yourself." She stared at me for a long moment, then at the pendant in my hand. Finally, her shoulders sagged. "I just wanted to be worthy," she whispered. "Of the family name, of you." "You already were," I told her. "The lies made you less, not more." Security arrived, but not the ones she'd called. Foundation board members approached, their faces grave. The time for secrets was over. As they led my mother away, I caught a glimpse of our reflection in the ballroom mirrors. Mother and daughter, so alike yet so different, both finally facing the truth. The pendant felt lighter now, its burden of secrets finally lifted. But as I watched my mother's retreating figure, I realized this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. The morning after my birthday party, I found my mother sitting in her garden, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. The newspapers lay scattered around her, their headlines screaming about scandal and deception. "I suppose you're here to gloat," she said without looking up. "No." I sat beside her. "I'm here to understand." She picked up one of the papers, reading aloud. "Dynasty built on lies. Prominent families' dark secrets revealed." They make it sound so simple. Black and white. Evil mother, righteous daughter. "It's not that simple," I agreed. "It never was." "Do you know what it's like?" she asked suddenly. "To discover you're not who you thought you were? To learn your entire life was built on someone else's shame?" "Actually, I do," I said quietly. "Thanks to you." She flinched. "I deserved that." "Why did you do it?" "Really?" When I found out I was adopted, I was your age. She touched a wilting rose, its petals falling. Your grandmother finally told me the truth about my real parents, about the arranged marriage she fled from, about everything. I was angry, devastated. I'd spent my whole life trying to be perfect, to be worthy of the family name, and suddenly none of it was really mine. So you took it anyway. Yeah, I took what I thought I deserved. She looked at me finally. The pendant was proof of my true heritage. In my mind, stealing it wasn't theft. It was reclaiming what should have been mine. And blaming Dad? He knew. Her voice hardened. He found out about the adoption, threatened to tell you. I couldn't. I couldn't bear for you to know. So you drove him away instead. I protected you from the truth that nearly destroyed me. She laughed bitterly. Ironic, isn't it? I became exactly what I hated, someone who builds their life on lies. Sasha appeared at the garden gate. Sorry to interrupt, but the foundation board is waiting. My mother stood, straightening her shoulders. Time to face the music, I suppose. You don't have to go alone, I offered. Yes, I do. She touched my cheek briefly. Some battles we have to face on our own. The foundation's offices were packed with board members, lawyers, and reporters. My mother walked in with her head high, every inch the powerful woman I'd grown up fearing and admiring. Before we begin, she said, her voice carrying across the room, I have a statement to make. The reporter's cameras flashed as she pulled out a folded paper. 30 years ago, I made a choice born of pain and anger. I stole not just a priceless heirloom, but the truth itself. I buried my own history and built a false one in its place. Every success, every achievement since then has been tainted by that original sin. She paused, looking directly at me. My daughter had the courage to expose what I tried to hide. She understood what I never could, that real strength comes from facing the truth, not hiding from it. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I am hereby resigning from all positions within the foundation and our family companies. I will cooperate fully with any investigations and make full restitution for what I've taken. And the pendant? Someone called out. Belongs to my daughter, she said firmly, as it always should have. After the meeting, I found her in her office, packing her things. You didn't have to resign from everything, I said. Yes, I did. She picked up a photo of us from my graduation. It's time to build something real, even if I have to start from nothing. Not nothing, I said, and not alone. She looked surprised. After everything I've done, you're still my mother. I took her hand. And grandmother's letter didn't just reveal your secrets. It showed how much she loved you, even after everything. She wanted you to know the truth about your heritage, not so you'd feel ashamed, but so you'd understand where you came from. I spent so long running from that truth, she whispered. Maybe it's time to embrace it instead. Dylan knocked on the door. Sorry, but there's something you both need to see. He led us to the community center, where a crowd had gathered. Inside, the walls were lined with photos, old black and white images of Vietnamese families, including my mother's birth parents. We found them in the Foundation archives, Sasha explained. Your real family's history. It's not just about the pendant or the dynasty. It's about people who survived war, separation, loss, and still found ways to build something new. My mother touched one of the photos, her hand trembling. I never knew. Now you do, I said. And so do I. Maybe that's where we start rebuilding, with the truth about where we come from. She turned to me, tears in her eyes. I don't deserve this chance. Maybe not, I agreed. But you have it anyway. You, outside, the sun was setting on the day that had changed everything. My mother's empire had crumbled, but something else was rising from its ashes. Something built not on lies and fear, but on truth and hope. It wouldn't be easy. Some wounds take generations to heal. But as I watched my mother studying her true family's faces, I knew we had taken the first step. The autumn breeze carried the scent of incense as I placed flowers on my grandmother's grave. The jade pendant caught the morning light, its surface warm against my skin. She would be proud of you, my father said, standing beside me, both for exposing the truth and for what you've done since. I hope so. I touched the gravestone. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, the way everything came out. Look behind you, he said softly. I turned to see my mother approaching, carrying her own flowers. She looked different now, softer somehow, the sharp edges of power and pretense worn away by truth. I didn't expect to see you here, she said, placing her bouquet next to mine. I come every week, I admitted. To talk to her? What do you tell her? Everything. About the center's new programs. About reconnecting with our relatives in Vietnam. About you. She knelt beside the grave, tracing the letters of our grandmother's name. I've been talking to her too, apologizing, trying to understand. And do you? I asked. Understand? Getting there. She stood up, brushing dirt from her knees. The therapy helps. So does teaching at the center. My mother had surprised everyone by volunteering to teach Vietnamese language and culture classes at the community center. Her students, mostly adopted children searching for their roots, adored her. Your grandmother used to say that healing doesn't move in straight lines, my father said. It spirals, bringing us back to the same points, but with new perspective. A car pulled up, and Sasha emerged with an elderly Vietnamese couple, my mother's birth parents. We'd found them through the Foundation's connections, and after months of letters and calls, they'd finally agreed to visit. My mother froze. Despite all the preparation, all the therapy, seeing them in person still shook her. Go, I whispered. They came all this way. She took a hesitant step forward, then another. The elderly woman, my grandmother by blood, opened her arms. Con guy, she said softly. Daughter. My mother fell into her embrace, decades of pain and pretense crumbling. They spoke rapidly in Vietnamese, tears flowing freely. Your grandmother knew this day would come, my father said. It's why she left all those clues, all those breadcrumbs leading to the truth. Not just for Mom, I realized. For all of us. Dylan appeared with a camera. Ready for the Foundation's new family archive? The elderly couple beckoned us over. My mother reached for my hand, pulling me into the frame. 4 generations, 2 families, 1 truth finally set free. Wait, my mother said. She unclasped a familiar necklace. Not the jade pendant, but the simple pearl one my grandmother had given her as a child. This belongs to you now. Mom, I can't. Please. She fastened it around my neck. I spent so long chasing the wrong inheritance. The real legacy was always about love, not power. The camera clicked, capturing the moment. Behind us, the morning sun illuminated my grandmother's grave, as if she too were witnessing this healing. Later, at the community center, I watched my mother teaching her class. She was showing them old photographs, explaining not just the language, but the stories behind each image. Your mom's really good at this, Dylan said, joining me at the window. She's finding her way back to herself, I said. The self she could have been without all the lies. And what about you? Found yourself yet? I touched both necklaces, the jade pendant representing truth revealed, the pearls symbolizing love restored. I'm getting there, I smiled. We all are. Sasha burst in, waving a document. The Foundation Board approved it. The new heritage program is funded. The program would help other families like ours trace their roots, heal old wounds, bridge cultural gaps. My mother's story had inspired it, showing how truth, however painful, could set generations free. There's something else, Sasha added. Your mother's birth parents. They want to tell their story, all of it. The arranged marriage, the war, the adoption. Is Mom ready for that? I asked. It was her idea, Sasha grinned. She says it's time to own all of her history, not just the parts that shine. Through the window, I watched my mother with her students. She was laughing, genuinely laughing, as they practiced introductions. The elderly couple sat in the back, beaming with pride. My father squeezed my shoulder. Your grandmother used to say that family is like a garden. It needs truth to grow, love to bloom, and courage to weather the storms. And sometimes, I added, it needs to be completely uprooted before it can grow right. The pendant warmed against my skin, no longer a burden of secrets, but a bridge between past and future. Outside, autumn leaves danced in the breeze, carrying the promise of renewal. Not an ending, but a beginning. Not perfect, but real. And finally, wonderfully true.